Sydney Friday night was almost, it's hard to say given some of these performances, the best of the lot. Their willingness to pressure the opposition, and we talked about the contested, uncontested possession. Melbourne pride themselves on being a side that stand up and deliver this sort of stuff to the opposition. Well, not for the first time the Swans have stared them down. They stared Melbourne down and Melbourne weren't disgraceful. You can't, if you're a Demon supporter, there's some disappointing stuff that you walk away from, but not effort. But they just got stared down by a side who were better at it.
Isn't this their core business, though? How long have we been talking about Sydney playing this brand of football and knowing that it works, and they continue to bring it?
They lost a little bit of it halfway through the year, and we talked about it here on this show.
Their contest and clearance stuff disappeared for them, and so about 6 rounds to go, that was the question mark on Sydney, is can they rectify the contest and clearance part of the game, in particular the contest, which we know, we've looked at the numbers so far from the first round of finals, how important that part of the game is. They fixed it in the last 6 weeks, so they came in with no holes in their game whatsoever. But it still takes that buy-in defensively from players that you wouldn't necessarily have expected it from, say, 12 months ago. Like, I look at a player like Nick Blakey and the desperation he shows now defensively. I think he encapsulates the rest of the team in the way they go about it.
What about their back six? You went through it.
Yeah, so Rampy, rookie, Lloyd, rookie, Paddy McCartan's now a rookie, Tom McCartan recruited as a forward, Robbie Fox,
Lloyd,
a rookie, Lloyd, I said. Who else is on the back flank?
Blakey's gone as a forward
Blakey
back.
recruited as a forward to back, so it's a makeshift back six, really.
God,
and they didn't look like getting scored against.
There was no room for Melbourne. We'll get to Melbourne in terms of whether they can handle it.
Just a quick one on. So we spoke to Tom Hickey after the game, and a guy that's been at 4 clubs, and asked him talk to us about the Bloods culture, because he's been at 4 clubs. He's probably as well positioned as anyone to talk about the difference. And he just said it's just the people,
the care.
It's the people and the care. So in an industry where footy clubs are so transient and people come and go, how do you maintain the culture for so long through so many different sort of eras of people? I think John Longmire as a constant in the
exactly
leadership
right.
with
you have standards. You have standards, and it's the leaders that make sure anyone coming into the system adheres to those standards. And if you don't, take a hike.
So there is still room for strong, hard edge accountability in the game.
Of course there is. Of course there is.
So we talk, and everyone will celebrate their hardness and their spirit and their toughness and their 20 whatever many tackles last. All that stuff is great, but then there's some nuance to it as well. Just pick this up from Warner. This man on the mark thing has been in here long enough now. He's got this down pat. Just the hold and wait for the bloke to get past, and then the next kick goes to someone that Warner's not able to get the kick to. It happens again here. Holds up, waits. Just, you can't move the man on the mark, and again, this should have been marked. Loved it. I just think it's something that he's worked into his game. And the fact is that they have won that big final with no input from Buddy. Chad Warner, who's been in brilliant touch, was just
Heaney was
just okay.
Whitish,
Upside for the Swans. An upside on the back of that sort of game. Brownie wanted to talk about Tom McCartan. So, Chief, you can talk about him on Brownie's behalf. I don't know whether you like him or not, but you're going to have
star,
to.
mate.
He's defensive. For a young defender who takes the opposition's best forward week in, week out, he has been superb.
And found himself when he started on Max Gawn. So giving away an enormous advantage there. But you're right, he's just gone about his business, and he's another one that doesn't seem to get the kudos that a lot of the other key defenders in the competition get. But that's kind of the Sydney way, isn't it?
Yeah,
Go about your business, do it every week, and then we move on. And we don't talk too much about it. We don't worry too much about it.
Incredible athlete.
You could count on one hand the number of times he's been beaten this year.
We were sitting up in the goals. So behind the goals, up high, great vision. And so that defensive stuff, Rampy's work on Ben Brown off the footy was, people go, Ben Brown didn't get it. But Rampy's defensive work was just crazy.
He's one of the hardest guys in the competition to get a kick on. Because he just, if the ball's 100 metres away, he acts like it's a metre away. He does not let up. He's one of the great competitors in the competition.
Interesting challenge for him, just before we move on. When he had Fritsch, it was a different kettle of fish. And Fritsch's movement and ability to lead at the footy and attack it and find different angles to approach the footy actually troubled him a bit.